Okay, it looks like we are starting to go live. Just here about a minute early, so we'll wait for people to start joining at the top of the hour. And as soon as it turns 12 o'clock, we'll get started. So hopefully, people are starting to join on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So if you are, just give me a hello in the chat, and I'll start talking to y'all. So. All right. Looks like it's top of the hour. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at. I'm Don C. Weber with Cutaway Security, and this is the CutSec ICS Friday Infosec chat. So just we're here for 30 minutes. We want to talk about kind of what Cutaway Security does. Cutaway Security does information security within the ICS field, ICS, OT, industrial control systems, however you want to call it. We provide assistance to organizations for security assessments, security program maturity analysis, and basically just go into organizations and help their teams understand their current implementation for security and determine if we can find a path forward. So uh, excellent. So I'm starting to see people join. Like I said, hello, Oscar. Good to see you here. I have somebody as a LinkedIn user. Not sure who that person is, but hello. Thank you for greeting me. This is kind of the worst case scenario. I'm glad I kind of getting this out of the way. And by that, I mean I don't have a speaker. So there's no. I put the link out. I didn't actually find somebody to talk. And so I'll just kind of talk about my week and see how we go there. I'll be watching the different uh, comments coming in from LinkedIn and from YouTube. It's good to see you there. Hello, Wes. Thanks for joining us. If you guys have a question, please go ahead and ask. I've got to fill up 30 minutes with this. We'll kind of talk about my week, I guess, a little bit. I am still here at the undisclosed location. Fortunately, they're allowing me to use this time to reach out to y'all and to take some time off of our assessment. So I just want to talk about those types of things today. I didn't really look up the news at all. I started this morning kind of thinking about the challenges that I've been having during the week, and both from a personal standpoint, but also from we're doing a security assessments. I'm here with one other person, which was really good. That's part of one of the challenges. So thought I'd talk about that as well. So yeah, Wes, I can see you in the chat. So please, if you have a question or something like that as we're going through, or if you have one right now, go ahead and fire away. This is supposed to be a discussion, so I'll find some topics. I'll start uh, um, kind of giving you some of my thoughts about the week. But if you have a question, I'm more than happy to answer it. A lot of you are joining. Some of you are from the Discord, the Cutaway Security Discord. So if you would like a link to that, let us know. You can reach out. You can find it. I've been posting it on LinkedIn and on Twitter, so you can follow the Cutaway Security on there as well. Certainly, if you're coming later, those links are. I don't have a vanity link yet. We haven't boosted the Discord server enough. We only have about 40 people in there, but the community's growing, and we talk about a lot of our personal things, but also industrial controls. We've got several locations to start asking questions and getting answers, providing opinions. I've been really pleased with some of the project conversations where people are talking about the different things that they're working on and their approaches, getting recommendations from other people, both information security and engineers like Oscar. Oscar is providing some of his guidance, and several other people are providing an operator's vision into these projects and what people should be setting up to help them understand things. So, reading some questions: are there any open source SCADA platforms that one can use to get familiar with OT applications, something like Elastic for SIMs? So Wes, I'm not sure if you're actually asking a question about open source platforms to evaluate the traffic and events that are being produced. Certainly there are, the control things. So if you go to the controlthings.io website, it's just type that into your browser. If you look at the platform there, the instructors maintain a distribution called the Control Things. It's a Linux distribution, and it has a lot of different tools on there that provide some of the capabilities that you're going to need doing for a security assessment. It's actually got simulators on there to simulate Modbus and other protocols. Doesn't have everything, but it certainly has a collection of tools to assist. So it's that would be one of the platforms that's dedicated to the control environments and some of the tools that you might need for your assessments. I've actually, if you go out to the Cutaway Security GitHub, there is a CutSec tools project, and within that there is um, a group of tools that I've collected, a group of scripts and so forth that will install things that are um, that I use during my security assessments and other things. So, David, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing fine. Actually, here in Pittsburgh, we got a little bit of an ice storm overnight and some additional snow, maybe 2, 3 inches on top of that. So I already cleaned my walk and driveway once. My kids are upstairs bothering me, uh, but I'm going to have to go back out there and do it again here very soon.
Yeah, I got a text from a friend of mine, Tom Liston, and he's out in Illinois, and he's shoveling himself. So, and down in Corpus, my family's wrapping up for the freeze this evening as well.
Yeah, it's
So,
2 inches of snow in Dallas, so that's kind of fun.
yeah, yeah, that's I was there the last time, or well, not the last time it snowed, but I guess it snows like every 5 years there, so it seems like it's on a pretty regular cycle for it. So I've been there when it's been iced over pretty good. So David, why don't you introduce yourself and so that people know?
Yeah, yes, sir. My name is David Foose. I currently or have been working at Emerson Power and Water Solutions. Primarily, if you know us, you probably know Emerson for the Delta V and maybe Rosemont Fisher kind of lines. We're on the Power and Water, the side with the Ovation line. Um, Also, if you talk about uh, nuclear and Westinghouse, we were Westinghouse 25 years ago, and now the AP 1000, other stuff like that, is basically Ovation hardware and software under the covers with some Westinghouse pixie dust sprinkled on top. Um, so I've been doing that for the last 14 years. Started in 2008, and I've held a number of different roles over there, mostly in security, either on development side, development manager side, but now a quasi role of product security, security products, security solutions, everything else for the last, I'd say, about 7 years, 6 years. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to answer some of these questions. There was a question in the chat about forensic analysis
Hmm.
tools. My experience with forensic analysis tools for this arena is basically the same tools that are used for incident response are used everywhere else. Things do provide device. Most of the management servers are going to
Hmm.
be your standards Windows and Linux operating systems, running the applications that we're used to. So those types of tools and capabilities are consistent with the corporate environment. If we're thinking about and considering doing analysis of devices, endpoints,
Right.
and so forth, the configuration stuff that went on them, you actually have to have people that are familiar with those. There's no special tools. It's just basically getting onto devices, understanding how to get the logs out of there. If you need memory, it's usually you're reaching out to the vendors to get their assistance. So do you have any experience around that, David?
Well, yeah, we make our own we make our own hardware and software, and we also have a lot of it under the covers. Like if you talk about the embedded side, it's going to be either a QNX or a VxWorks made by Wind River, a real time operating system. If you get into more generic and automation, you'll find more Linux underneath there. So what it comes down to is what kind of tool set is available to even get on those operating systems. If you're even if capable, most likely you have capability. There'll be Telnet or SSH or some kind of capability
Mhm.
access. But it'd be the same kind of thing as saying, well, I need to do forensic analysis of a Cisco. So it technically under the covers, it's all ones and zeros. But how are you going to get any kind of clients or anything else on top of that, and really start tearing it apart? It's going to end up being Cisco, um, their tools, or you're going to have to do
Mhm.
binary bin walking and the binary analysis of the actual device, and that's not easy unless you really know what you're doing.
Right. And then, comparing configurations and so forth, you have to,
Right.
really have the original or in the intended project, that was loaded onto that device to really have comparison in case somebody did take action on that actual endpoint.
Yeah, we lean on the same things, looking for something weird, that something jumps out to you, any kind of modifications that were on, because in our environments we have a very strict change management process generally,
Mhm.
especially when you're talking about the walled gardens that is power generation or nuclear, especially literal walls. So the so even a new device or something talking on a network should throw alarms at you, and they do. We have it built in like that. We don't see this thing talking, or we do see it talking, and that wasn't new. That's new. Throws alarms
Mhm.
everywhere. That's where you're not going to be you're not going to have any magic dust beyond not understanding whatever protocols are talking and saying, well, is that normal communications or not? And that's where the anomaly detection stuff kind of works, is that it's been talking this direction on this port, these kinds of things for this long, and then suddenly it changed direction or suddenly it started spraying everywhere. That might mean I don't have to be a genius and understand that's not normal, and maybe I need to take a look at.
Right, and it's a matter of understanding what abnormal is. It's the educating the operators and the engineers to escalate to the people that understand the technologies and the capabilities of threat actors, and just getting them involved in the process. And say, hey, I'm seeing this. Does this mean anything to you? Yeah, we should come out and help you. Or no, no, that doesn't. I don't think we need to bother you right now. But a lot of the issues around the actual compromises in these environments are associated with the operators and engineers doing their normal troubleshooting steps, because that's what they do. I mean, they're experiencing an unusual activity with the process. They're going to troubleshoot it to try to get it back into that control loop, back into normal. That's their actual jobs. They're just doing their jobs. It's just they don't realize that they need assistance until later, and then they escalate. And they usually follow the process to escalate. They've got steps that in training, and they're all concerned about it. It's just how rapidly can you get the people that understand the attack process and analysis, understand that you don't want to, hey, just don't just reload that whole operating system because you're going to wipe out system artifacts and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have it's the most scary people. A plant side are the people who are normally the plant managers, who are multi-hat people anyway, and they know they can hear hums in the walls, sort of like Scotty from Enterprise. They
Hmm.
can feel the decks vibrate a certain way and go, "That's not normal." So that's why they're tracking temperatures, they're tracking vibrations, they have known cycles that they have to maintenance and that kind of stuff. So any kind of warble in that,
Hmm.
they're gonna kind of pick up on it. And especially that's why you want to empower your local teams, because again, they're the way that things are, like, just think about power generation in the Northeast versus power generation in Texas. They're built a certain way, and they're built and they'll know their unique environments and what could cause a weirdness. Me as the vendor, I'm going to build a reference architecture and build it to my specs, but I'm not going to know how it's being used in Vietnam, or how it's being
Hmm.
used in Texas versus how it's being used in Europe. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Just as an example, we recently had a plant who was having some really interesting issues with a controller side, and we went out to find out, and it was very, very, very close to the sea. So they were getting salt water in their thing. We had some really weird actions with the controller and we thought it was something like something malicious. That's not normal for that to be acting that way. Yeah, it was just salt water. I mean, they have seawater issues.
Right.
So it's like, well, that normally does electricity doesn't normally like that. So your wiring and everything else is going to suffer because of salt in the air. So yeah, there's unique environments variables that only the people on site are going to know.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we ran into this week, and it wasn't necessarily a security issue because it hadn't been implemented yet, but this organization knows that they want to see some of the activity that's going on within the substations. And so they're finding ways to, without adding routability to that substation, because that creates a whole new line of defenses that have to be put in place, regulation and requirements along those lines. So they don't want to make it routable. But one of the things that and Tim Conway pointed this out to me, and that I hadn't realized about a lot of, or some of the industrial switches, is that you can enable port mirroring and span ports, but unless you specifically configure it not to have bidirectional traffic, you can still communicate across that port. They're still allowing you to do that. And now all of a sudden you're taking a security requirement for a substation that is that already has the requirement of being non-routable, and you're implementing that port, and you're potentially exposing them to issues around regulation, but also you're opening up the attack surface for that. So I was kind of surprised around that. We're helping the organization understand how to correctly configure these devices before they go in place, because it has to be done there.
And keep in mind, you may have to ask. I mean, what the other a security guy hat, we say, well, it should just be default secure. But frankly, given the fact that sometimes these things are designed and built in a bubble, I
Mhm.
can't tell you that this is the way to always do it, depending on where it's integrated and how it's being utilized. So I may provide you with guidance somewhere deep in documentation, or I may have some kind of KB article around here to say, maybe you should want to turn that off. But getting integrated in, perhaps the person who's doing the integration is not a native English speaker and has no training and had no time, and they just so we leave it wide open and tell them they need to
Mhm.
come back in and change some settings later, and that may not always happen. I'll give you
Right.
a story on that one if you want one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and just to wrap up my part of it, and to emphasize what you said, is that, yeah, as soon as we started, we're like, okay, we wanted to test this because it was new, it was there. We're like, okay, how are we going to fix this? We open up the user manual, and there it is in a big warning right there that, hey, this is bidirectional, and you have to do this, this, and this to prevent that. So you're absolutely right. RTFM, you got to read the manual, and while
Or at
you're
least ask.
implementing things.
At
Yeah,
least ask.
or ask, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, because the integrators and the vendors, they know their equipment, and usually they're involved with it, and and they'll tell you, "Oh, wait, don't do that because of this." So yeah, absolutely. But story, yeah, I don't want to step on your story.
Story time. Story time with David. I do these too often. We had a particular plant in another part of the world, not North America, who we were seeing some weird stuff going on the network. It looked like there was some kind of network loops, and since we use redundant networking, uh, it you can easily accidentally put a loop in the network and it cause all kinds of redundancy issues. So when we say, okay, send us all your logs and stuff like that, and we start looking at our gather information, and we're seeing MAC addresses from Android, from Hewlett Packard, because we mostly iPhones. We mostly sell Dell and Cisco stuff at the time period. So it was like, this looks like really weird. So we didn't put it in. So we go back to the customer and say, hey, do you happen to have this connected to your business side? Because we're seeing some stuff that should not be on a control network. And again, it being in another part of the world, each time we asked a question, it took days of translation and time to come back. So every time we would ask something, it would be a long ping of information going there and back. They eventually came back and said, then, and I'll quote as best I can in my head, "We found the wire. Don't worry." And that was it. So we pressed in to find out what they meant by the wire. Turns out, and I'll make the story as short as possible, during the integration effort, 6 years prior, a integrator per local contractor had plugged a single wire into a basically an access point straight to the internet, and uh, so and then just left it. Nobody had walked around and said that doesn't look right. And it so this whole system had been on the internet for at least a number of years, and every so often it would just network traffic from the internet would flood in and bounce around inside the control network, and we go, oh no, and we're thinking, holy cow, we're going to need to send a flyaway team. Do you want us to do some forensics? Do we need to get in there? And they're like, no, 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 don't worry about it. We've got it handled. We disconnected the wire now. Everything seems to be fine. We'll talk to you later if we want to buy some antivirus. And we're like, what? So it was are you sure? I mean, we can't just show up and tell them you must let us help you fix this and burn down all your infrastructure, burn down every piece of hardware, because who knows what kind of petri dish this sucker is. But
Yeah.
it's a little eye-opening and sometimes frustrating to be on the other side of those kind of conversations where you're like, you're not worried. But yes, so just a quick walk around your environment. The person who actually runs the place could see this is a single wire plugged into somewhere it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I was at an assessment on the East Coast last year, and stuff, working on my computer, and I was just like, something wasn't working, and I was like trying to figure out like how to modify the code, and I leaned back and I just kind of look up. I was like, and coming out of the wall were a couple of Ethernet cables and running down like behind everything. And there is a picture right there that says, "Don't remove these. If you need to understand it, call this person." And I was working with somebody, in the organization. He's like, "Let me check the gal for that person." Hey, that person left 3 years ago. So yeah, it's just like, okay, where's that going, and what is it? You just came out of the wall and down behind everything.
Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions.
Well, I'm hoping that it wasn't a part of the connected to the internet. So I see that Wes has asked a question, and maybe you have some experience. Basically, can we go over some stuff about aviation and help automation software level 3 environments and so forth? I don't have a lot of. I mean, I have. I reviewed a long time ago when they were first starting to put the entertainment systems in. Somebody wanted somebody to look at the wireless that was allowing that to connect. So I took a quick look at that, and but I didn't actually get on the subsystems for the planes or anything like that.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of experience. I do know that. I mean, they're using similar types of buses, field buses within those vehicles. Sometimes can, sometimes other protocols. Or do you have any experience, David?
Not beyond, again, we're in Emerson. You, if you asked me if I was working at Honeywell, we probably have our Honeywell out of aviation and stuff like that situations. The closest I ever got to the actual aviation side of the house was in a former life, a airport, but they were looking at baggage handling and stuff like that, and small PLC kind of stuff like that. Beyond, but just as much as we all know as security personnel with cars and probably airplanes, we hope that there is some kind of actual break between um, the entertainment system and the connect and USB access for every one of my people in the back and the guy and gal doing the actual driving up front. That would be very sad if it wasn't. We also know that these devices that are in front of every one of my people in the back are probably running Linux. We've seen kind of them boot. I've seen them boot when they reboot
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
plane, which scares the heck out of me when we're sitting at the gate and they need to reboot the plane. It's really frightening. Um, and there is reasons why in some of these different planes that they were rebooting the plane because there was a memory overrun on time and date that would happen after so many months, and due to an overflow. So I don't want that to happen in the air, but it still is
Nope.
not very it's great for me. Overall, I imagine the security separation between entertainment system and avionics, I hope it's there, but there's obviously a very thin line because I'm getting information from my seat back of where we are global positioning system. I'm
Mhm.
able to get in and out via the internet. Is it VLAN? I don't know. I haven't tried to do
I
anything to it while I'm in the air.
Yeah, and I don't recommend anybody does. And in to their credit, I'm sure they've taken a look at it. I know plenty of people that have been involved in some of those. Not saying it's foolproof or anything like that. It looks like Wes was actually asking about software. I'm not sure exactly what that means, Wes. As far as software goes, interacting with there's going to be industrial protocols. What David just mentioned was, about some of the typical operating systems. Those are the type of operating systems that we see in normal environments. Interacting with those, you use the same tools. But once we start getting into specific protocols and specific applications, I always think, and as a part of when we're teaching, whether it's the control things class or whether it's SANS ICS 410, I mentioned to everybody, hey, you really need to understand two things. The first is the medium. What is the medium that you're going to be communicating with and interacting with, whether it's Ethernet or it's some type of field bus or wireless. So you need to know how to attach to that. Once you understand that, then you need to understand how things are talking. How are they formatting the communications? What protocols are they using? Because that's going to go to once again, might be some considerations for the adapters that you're using to attach to that medium, but also how you're putting or understanding how there's the applications are speaking between each other and how you want to communicate with them. So that's usually what I do. But so I was looking at that. And then Oscar asked a question about how we prepare for assessments, and and that's David. Do you interact with bringing in third parties to
Yeah.
assist, or do you usually go out with to assist your clients?
Yes, for both. And also have been involved with the actual assessment process. And it pretty much does the same kind of thing every single time. You go lay of the land. In some of these environments, the reason why they're asking you to come out and do this is most likely they have nothing, no real good handle. They may have a inventory that was built at time of commissioning, and that may be decades ago,
Mhm.
especially if you're talking in industrial control. So your first thing to do, and every from the most expensive to the most cheap person out there, is they're going to try to use a set of tools or a hopefully also physical walk down. They're going to do packet captures to see what's talking. Then
Mhm.
they'll run it against the same tools by everybody uses, practically everybody uses, and then they're going to also maybe do some general probing depending on the likeliness of knocking something over accidentally. Um,
Yeah,
and
and
then
and
physical
that's
walkdowns.
yeah, that's and I think one of the most important things is that scoping call. That
Yeah,
scoping call with the actual team, meaning that let's get some operators and engineers that are familiar with the things. A lot of times the people that are asking for the assessments and setting up the corporate agreements, the non-disclosure agreements, the statement of works, what are deliverables and so forth that we expect out of the assessments, what are our goals, those are not the same people as the actual engineers and operators that are maintaining that implementation, whether it's a testing environment or whether it's actual production environment. And so having that conversation with them is going to guide you to what you are going to bring, cannot bring. The utility I'm at right now,
right.
I couldn't use any of my own. I could use some of my equipment to attach to it, but I couldn't use my laptop. Um, uh, you know, it, getting a Dropbox in was extremely difficult because I wanted to demonstrate the use of cellular this time to this client, and make sure that they understood the implications around that. And that's not their equipment, that's not their network. And so we had to have some conversations and kind of like some acceptance of, okay, if you can see I can communicate with this here, if I attach it to your network, I can log in over there, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, we agree. But sometimes a lot of people want that demonstration, that that proof of concept. Nah, you can't do that because the case will knock down the cellular network. You won't be able to communicate with it. Oh, really? Okay, let's test that. So,
No,
any
we have.
experience with that?
Yeah, we have situations like that because we are a service organization anyway, and we have in North America, especially depending on how they're doing regulatory. They won't allow you to bring any kind of hardware in. If you want to bring any kind of software in, they have to download it and put it in whatever kind of units that they have there already for you. And then you have to justify the usage. They're not going to let you take packet captures away with you. They may take any kind of devices, removable drives, and destroy them before you leave. They So it's very difficult to take that back and chew on it at your hotel room like you might want to, or upload it to VirusTotal if you're really just lazy. The and go, yep, it looks clean to me. Uh, which I will not say has ever happened by anybody. But the the fun part will also be is that when you go in some of these locations, people don't normally like having a industrial location in the middle of the city. So
Mhm.
they will put it in the middle of nowhere where there may be very limited internet access, cellular or otherwise.
Oh, oh,
So
absolutely.
even if you think you go there and they are allowing you to use your machines and you try to get out, you are probably not going to get out. They're not going to give you access to their business land, most likely. You can beg. If you try to take in part of your go bag a hotspot feature of some sort. I know some of the more seasoned people have taken multiple vendors worth of
Hmm.
hotspotters so that they can have one for each band of cellular, so they can try to get in and out. Uh,
Yeah, because they might knock it down. Yep. So, hey, David, we're right at the bottom of the hour. We're trying to keep these at 30 minutes.
yes,
And
sir.
hey, I really appreciate you jumping on the chat and, just kind of helping to broaden the conversation a little bit. So thank you very, very much. I always invited to, come back, jump on, and I'll be posting the links to where you and some of the other people do it. So thanks for helping with that. Why don't you go ahead and let people know where they can find you?
Well, right now you can find me in Pittsburgh. No,
Track me
I'm
down there.
uh, just yell at your local Emerson or Power Ovation salesperson and say I have a problem with security, and most likely you'll get a hold of me or my wife. My wife being way more important and powerful than I am.
Well, excellent. Well, David, thank you. Everybody, YouTube, LinkedIn, everybody that joined out there, we thank you for joining us for another Cutaway Security ICS Friday InfoSec chat. We hope you enjoy your weekend. We will see you next week. David, I'm going to stop the stream now. So take care and take care of yourself. All right.
Stay safe.
All right.